The professional basketball world is witnessing a total meltdown of institutional integrity as the league establishment executes an aggressive hit job on the only player brave enough to protect its future. Sophie Cunningham is currently the target of a systematic suppression campaign designed to strip Caitlin Clark of her most loyal defender and force the game back into a corporate script. This orchestrated silencing of the veteran enforcer proves that the front office elites prioritize their own optics over the actual physical safety of the women on the court. You need to join the Truth Seekers immediately by subscribing to the channel and becoming a part of our Inner Circle membership, where we release exclusive weekly documentaries that the mainstream media is too scared to show you. Supporting this investigation by hitting the hype button and using the super thanks helps us continue to expose the corruption rotting the core of the professional sports world. We are the only outlet willing to look past the official press releases and reveal the forensics of how the league is blacklisting its most feared protector. The establishment wants you to believe this is just about basketball, but the reality is that they are dismantling a career in real time to regain control of the narrative.
Yo, if you love real basketball stories, deep dives, and the drama behind the game, you're in the right place. But if you want to take it to the next level, hit that join button. Members get exclusive content, early access, and behind-the-scenes drops you won't see anywhere else. Plus, you're directly supporting the channel and helping us bring you even better content. So if you rock with Basketball Spilled, become a member today. Let's keep the game alive.
Sophie Cunningham became a marked woman the moment she put on an Indiana Fever jersey and decided that she was not going to let the league veterans treat Caitlin Clark like a punching bag. During a high-stakes matchup against the Connecticut Sun, the entire world watched as Clark was poked in the eye and shoved to the hardwood while the referees stood by and did absolutely nothing. The league office clearly wanted the rookie to feel the heat because they needed a storyline where she looked vulnerable and broken under the pressure of the old guard. Cunningham recognized the script and chose to tear it up by delivering a hard foul that sent a clear message to every player in the building. If a rival team decides to touch the star rookie, they have to go through the veteran enforcer first. And that level of loyalty is exactly what the front office elites cannot stand. They did not want a bodyguard on the floor who could stop the physical targeting of their golden child, so they began the process of clipping Sophie's wings immediately. The trouble moved from the court to the executive offices, where a series of leaked details from a heated locker room confrontation revealed the true depth of the hostility. Cunningham reportedly stood her ground against team officials and league representatives who were trying to tell her to tone down her aggressive style of play. This confrontation turned the WNBA front office against the Indiana veteran for good because she refused to apologize for doing her job as a teammate. The establishment needs players who follow orders and maintain a polite image, but Cunningham has always been a fighter who puts the players in the locker room ahead of the suits in the boardroom. That defiance led directly to the league looking for any excuse to punish her, and they found their opportunity when she took her frustrations to social media. $500. That is the exact price the league put on freedom of speech when they issued a fine to Cunningham for a simple video she posted on TikTok. While a fine of that size might seem like pocket change to a superstar, this was actually a calculated warning shot from Commissioner Cathy Engelbert herself. The video in question mocked the terrible officiating and the blatant bias that the referees have shown against the Indiana Fever all season long. By hitting her with a fine for speaking her mind, the league sent a message to every other player that they should keep their mouths shut or face the consequences. They are trying to build a narrative that Cunningham is unprofessional and toxic, but the truth is that she is the only person in the game with the guts to expose the referee bias that the league tries to hide. The physical targeting on the court was just the beginning because the establishment has moved on to a more sophisticated way of removing Cunningham from the action. Reports recently surfaced that she will be taking a broadcasting role with USA Network for the 2026 season, and the mainstream media is framing this as a great career move for her. Our investigation reveals a much darker story where this is actually a forced retirement being pushed by elite executives who want her off the court. By offering her high-paying media gigs, they are attempting to lure her away from the Fever roster, so she can no longer serve as the bodyguard that the rest of the league is terrified of. They want her behind a desk where she is just another talking head instead of a physical force who can disrupt their carefully managed games. Putting her in a suit and giving her a teleprompter is the ultimate corporate move to neutralize a player they can no longer control with technical fouls. The free agency market is also being used as a weapon to kill her career value and ensure she has no choice but to take the media deal. Normally, a veteran with her skill set and defensive presence would be signed to a new contract almost immediately, but there is a strange silence coming from the front office in Indiana. Whispers from within the league suggest that executives have put out a quiet warning to other teams about her polarizing personality. They are framing her as a liability and a locker room cancer to discourage anyone from offering her a legitimate roster spot. This coordinated hit job is designed to isolate her until she is forced to walk away from the game she has spent her entire life mastering. If they can separate the protector from the star, they can finally break the spirit of Caitlin Clark and make her fall in line with the corporate agenda. Legacy players and established veterans are also playing their part in this war against the new era of basketball. Superstars like Kelsey Plum have been caught making slick comments about the impact Clark has had and the way her teammates choose to act on the floor. There is a deep-seated jealousy within the old guard of the WNBA because they hate seeing a rookie and an enforcer steal the spotlight they feel they earned. These veterans are working hand-in-hand with the front office to maintain a culture of hostility that makes life difficult for anyone who doesn't respect the old hierarchy. They claim that their behavior is just part of being competitive, but the forensics show a coordinated effort to suppress any player who stands on the right side of history. Sophie Cunningham became a traitor to the league's sisterhood because she chose to defend the player who is actually making the entire sport relevant to the masses. When you look closely at the game film, the evidence of this blacklisting becomes impossible to ignore. Referees consistently whistle Cunningham for fouls that other veterans get away with every single night, which is a systematic stripping of her defensive power. If the officials take away her ability to play physical, she can no longer serve as an enforcer, and that is exactly what the league office wants. They are using the whistle to neuter her game and make it impossible for her to do the job she was hired to do. Whenever she gets frustrated and reacts to the unfair treatment, the league uses that footage to prove she is toxic and unprofessional. It is a trap that was set the moment she stood up for her teammate, and the front office is adding to her file every time she shows any form of emotion. The branding war is another front where the establishment is trying to crush her influence before it grows too large. Cunningham has built a massive personal brand on social media that rivals some of the biggest names in the league, and the suits in the front office absolutely hate that they cannot control it. They want the WNBA to be the only brand that matters, and when a player becomes bigger than the corporate narrative, she becomes a threat to their power. They're trying to silence her social media presence by threatening her with disciplinary action and more fines for anything they deem outside of their narrow image. They're turning her into a cautionary tale to show other players that they will be punished if they try to build their own platform or defend the new stars. Player safety is being sacrificed on the altar of corporate optics by people who claim to care about the women in the league. The front office would rather see Caitlin Clark get hit with a blindside screen and fall to the ground than see Cunningham step in and set things right. They are terrified of the bad press that might come from a physical confrontation on the court, but they are perfectly fine with the quiet bullying that happens every game. This hypocrisy proves that the WNBA elites only care about maintaining a clean image for their sponsors, while their top assets are left exposed to injury. They are intentionally stripping away the protection Clark needs just to maintain a narrative where the rookie has to pay her dues through physical suffering. Sophie Cunningham knows that paying your dues should not involve being humiliated by jealous rivals, and her refusal to let that happen made her the villain in the eyes of the establishment. There are major contract disputes happening behind closed doors that the media refuses to talk about because it would expose the league's manipulation. The establishment is putting immense pressure on the Indiana Fever ownership to move on from Cunningham and find a player who fits a more professional image. They are literally trying to trade away the only person Clark trusts on the floor so they can isolate the star and make her more manageable. This is a psychological war designed to make the rookie feel like she is on an island where no one has her back. If they can remove the enforcer, they can eventually force Clark to fall in line with the old ways of the league. Cunningham is the only glitch in their system, and the forensic evidence shows they are trying to delete her before she can cause any more damage to their plans. We have seen this type of suppression before in other professional sports, but the level of calculated malice in this case is unprecedented. The people at the top are terrified of losing their grip on the game as it moves into a massive transition period fueled by new fans and record-breaking revenue. They want the money that Clark brings in, but they do not want the actual change that comes with a new generation of players. They want to keep the same gatekeepers in charge of the narrative, and Sophie Cunningham represents a direct threat to that power. She does not care about the old rules or the hierarchies that have kept the league small for decades. Her loyalty is to her teammates and the game itself, and that makes her dangerous to a front office that demands total obedience. The broadcasting deal remains the ultimate smoking gun in this investigation because it makes zero sense for a player in her prime to be pushed into media. A player with a massive following and a clear role on a rising team does not just walk away to read a teleprompter unless they are being forced out. This is a golden parachute designed to get her to go away quietly before she can expose any more of the league's secrets. They are betting that she will take the paycheck and stop being a problem for their corporate sponsors, but they are underestimating the heart of a true enforcer. Cunningham has never been the type of person to sit back and watch while her friends get bullied, and the league is about to find out that she won't be silenced by a fancy title and a microphone. Every fine and every technical foul she receives is now a badge of honor that proves she is telling the truth. The fans can see exactly what is happening, and the inner circle members know that when a league targets a player this hard, it is because that player is exposing the cracks in the foundation. They call her a locker room cancer because she is actually the cure for the weakness that the front office has allowed to fester for years. The establishment is terrified that other players will follow her lead and start standing up for themselves against the corporate script. If every star had a protector who wasn't afraid of the suits in the front office, the league would lose its ability to manipulate the game for its own benefit. The final buzzer is approaching for this version of the WNBA as the truth continues to leak out despite their best efforts to hide it. The elite suits can try to blacklist Sophie Cunningham, and they can try to ruin her reputation. But they cannot stop the revolution she has already started. By targeting the most loyal defender in the game, they have proven that they do not care about the sport or the women who play it. The front office is the architect of its own downfall, and their treatment of the enforcer will be remembered as the biggest scandal in the history of the league. Sophie Cunningham stood up when everyone else was too scared to speak, and she shielded the future of the game from the shadows of a corrupt past. The establishment might win this specific battle, but they have already lost the war for the soul of basketball. Sophie Cunningham is not the problem with the WNBA, but the people trying to silence her definitely are. They thought they could erase her from the story, but they only succeeded in making her a symbol of everything wrong with their corporate greed. The elite suits will eventually have to answer for why they left their biggest star unprotected just to settle a grudge with a veteran who had too much heart. The investigation is far from over, but the verdict from the fans is already in. The WNBA establishment is guilty of systematic suppression, and Cunningham is the victim of a coordinated hit job that will forever stain the reputation of the league. But the enforcer is still standing, and the truth is the only thing that can never be fined into silence. This is Basketball Spilled, and we will never stop exposing the corruption until the game is finally free from the corporate script.